We start with WikiLeaks. Senator Claire McCaskill is a Democrat in Missouri. She sits on both the Armed Services and the Homeland Security Committees, and Mark Mazzetti covered the story for the New York Times. Senator McCaskill, let's go to the news flash in here. I'm not going to say I'm stunned to know that gambling goes on like the guy in Casablanca, but I am amazed to see all this information come forth about all these Arab leaders now and what they were saying about Iran. They want us to attack Iran's missile sites. Quote, this is from the head of from Saudi Arabia. He told us to cut the head off of the snake. The words like this, the cables exposed various Arab leaders pushing the U.S. to take out Iran's nuclear program. As I said, Saudi Arabia ambassador to the United States, Adel Al-Jubair, said that King Abdullah, quote, told you to cut off the head of the snake. King Hamad of Bahrain said, quote, that program, that missile program must be stopped. The danger of it, letting it go on is greater than the danger of stopping it. And Abu Dhabi's crown prince said, quote, Ahmadinejad is Hitler, Ahmadinejad, obviously. And Lebanon Prime Minister Hariri said back in 2006 when he was parliamentary majority leader, quote, Iraq was unnecessary, but Iran is necessary. The United States must be willing to go all the way if need be. Are you stunned at that candor from these Arab Islamic leaders that we should blow away, basically, Iran?
Well, I think what I'm stunned about is that someone that had access to this information decided it was a great idea to make it public. That, to me, is terribly damaging to our national security. It's damaging to our alliances around the world. People need to feel like that they have the ability to speak freely in certain places about their fears and frustrations about leaders around the globe. And I don't know how we get our allies to trust us if we can't protect the information that they give us. And it is extremely unfortunate. And I really do think it's time that we take a look and make sure that our laws are strong enough in terms of going after people who leak this kind of classified information that can kill Americans if it's used improperly.
Well, let's take a look at what the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said about those very cables describing Arab leaders' fears of a nuclear Iran. Let's listen, because it's a somewhat different take, Senator. She seems to see the positive in this, at least in this portion of it.
Any of the comments that are being reported on, allegedly from the cables, confirm the fact that Iran poses a very serious threat in the eyes of many of her neighbors. If anyone reading the stories about these alleged cables thinks carefully, what they will conclude is that the concern about Iran is well-founded, widely shared, and will continue to be at the source of the policy that we pursue with like-minded nations to try to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
Well, she's giving a couple of points there. One, the Secretary of State says that it's good that we know, the whole world knows that it's not just us and Israel that's worried about Iran, or Europe even, but the Arab world, the Islamic world is worried about them. She seems to think that even though she can't acknowledge the actual facts in these cables and the wording, that the message is a good one for us. Is it?
Well, I think that if there is any silver lining in this very dark cloud that all of this leaked information represents, it is that it confirms that the leadership in Iran is distrusted by everyone in the world, and that they are isolated in terms of their power. And it also, frankly, Chris, tells us that our alliance with Russia as it relates to Iran is incredibly important. That's why I find it incredible that the Republicans are willing to put national security on the line in order to try to damage the President of the United States by trying to block the ratification of the START treaty.
I agree with you on that one. Let's go to Mark Mazzetti of the New York Times. Let's talk about the impact of it, not whether the group WikiLeaks should have published it or whatever. I know you don't want to get into that, but the political realities of this. I'm not shocked by this stuff. That Mugabe will do anything to hold on to power, in Zimbabwe. Hot flash. We all know that. He's 100 years old. He ain't going to give it up to anybody or any election. Is it a hot flash that the Arab leaders, especially the conservative leaders of Saudi Arabia, are scared to dickens of, to use a Christmas time time reference of Iran having a nuclear weapon and warning that they get the nuclear weapon, other Arab states will have to get weapons of the same kind. These are not flashes of news, are they? The only thing I think hurts your reaction to this is the Yemen president, where the Yemeni president basically is admitting that he's covering for us in attacking the terrorist sites in his country.
And but of course that's been reported for months that the U.S. is behind this campaign of missile strikes in Yemen.
So what's the news here?
Well,
what's the horror story?
Well, I mean, the news is you're getting this window into American diplomacy. You're getting a number of you're seeing the behind-the-scenes efforts by the Obama administration, the Bush administration, to deal with these very sensitive issues, like Iran's nuclear program, like the terrorist threat in Yemen, like Pakistani nuclear material, like the effort to get rid of or to empty out Guantanamo Bay and the sort of horse trading that goes on with all these countries who don't want to take.
Well, were you, as a journalist who covers these stories, surprised by anything in these cables?
I think there's a lot that's surprising in terms of the details of.
Tell the viewers right now what shocked you.
There's a story that I did in today's paper about how diplomats are increasingly asked to get personal information of foreign officials, credit card information.
Okay, so Secretary of State, let me go back to Senator McCaskill on this. Everyone respects the work that Hillary Clinton's doing in the United States Secretary of State position, but is she right or wrong to be seeking inside information about diplomats assigned to the UN? Credit card information, travel information, that sort of thing. Is that wrong or right?
Well, I mean, Chris, I think you'd have to be naive not to understand that there's a lot of intelligence work that is done within the diplomatic corps. And this is true with every country. It's true with our allies. It's true with our enemies, that the diplomatic corps is part of intelligence gathering in our work in terms of keeping Americans safe. So I think what's troubling about this is that it's important for that work to be done well, that it not be something that is paraded on the front pages of newspapers. Well,
it's
what
done.
You do is
the milk is the cow's out of the barn. The milk is spilled. Whatever metaphor you use, the world now knows that the United States, the Secretary of State, the previous Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, both ordered their troops to spy on diplomats at the UN.
Well,
we all know that now.
Well, and I think that most people in America and most people, frankly, around the world know that diplomatic corps have been engaged. If you look at history, diplomats through all the conflicts in this world have been involved in intelligence gathering. So I don't know that that's shocking. What's shocking is somebody thinks this is a good idea that has access. An American somewhere leaked
But they don't think it's a good idea, though, Senator. They don't like us. This guy in Australia says Assange doesn't like us. Obviously, WikiLeaks doesn't like us. They're doing this to hurt us, aren't they?
Well, the ability to get this information, some of this information that's been leaked came from Americans that leaked it. So
yeah, but what are we going to do to this guy? What do you think we should do to him? Fry him?
I think we should figure out a way to bring the force of law to anyone who takes information. Well, he is already under arrest, isn't he? Aren't we beating a dead horse? This he's facing 20 or 30 years at least, isn't he? I don't think we can give up on that. If somebody steals something, we go after them with the force of law, and we don't give up just because they've already been caught stealing. We continue to go after them because they've stole something else. We've got to. This is property that has been stolen, and we should treat it that way and make sure that we try to have some deterrence so this doesn't continue happening.
Okay, Manning, the guy, the enlisted guy who did the leaking, the hacking, he's facing heavy time here, isn't he?
That's right. He's in a military
Now, the other
prison.
guy's the one, Assange, the Australian guy who published the stuff online. Is he going to skate or what? What's it look like?
It's actually unclear what his legal status is. He's around Europe. He's in and out of countries.
Does he have a country of residence where he can actually navigate?
He does spend a lot of time in London. And
the Swedes are after him, right?
Yes, and as we've reported,
how did they get in the act?
They're pursuing him on some sexual assault charges. So it's a question about
sexual assault. I think it's rape. And this guy is a rapist apparently too, according to the.
So it's unclear what exactly is going to happen to him.
Well, he's been accused of rape.
Can I make one previous point that the senator made on intelligence gathering? I mean, there's no question that the diplomatic corps over decades has helped the intelligence community build profiles of foreign leaders. We contacted several ambassadors, recently retired ambassadors who retired before these new directives went out, and they were shocked, actually, that the diplomats were actually now being tasked to do this type of information. Credit card. How do you steal a credit card information or frequent flyer numbers?
Yeah.
They thought that was actually crossing a line into spying, which in their mind actually put diplomats in danger overseas because they're then suspected of no longer being just diplomats.
What can we do, Senator McCaskill? This guy's Assange. As was pointed out a moment ago, he faces charges apparently from the Swedish government for sexual assault or rape. We're not sure yet. But if these charges are pending, is that all we're going to nab him on, sort of hit him on something else than this particular incident, what he did here? Is this how we're going to have to live with this, that there's no outstanding crime that he's guilty of in this regard of publishing this material online?
Well, I think we need to get information from him and use the criminal charges against him to leverage and get information. We need to pull this thread and find out how he got this information. Where did it come from? There, in all likelihood, is someone else involved here, and in all likelihood, it's someone that has much closer ties to the United States of America than this person does. So I think it's important that we look at all of our laws, see if they need to be updated. We're in a new generation now, a new era of technology. We've got to make sure that our laws are modernized to reflect
this crime
that
exist,
new technology.
Senator, you're a lawmaker. Does there exist in the present world environment, is there such a thing as a crime to publish this information that this guy got from a hacker? Once he got the information on the international information market and published all this information online, you say squeeze him on the charge of rape or whatever else the Swedes have him on. But is there a real crime here that we know of that exists in publishing this information?
There certainly is with the hacker. And the question is, what jurisdiction do we have over the Internet if this information is being published on the Internet in other countries? What jurisdiction do we have? And I don't think our laws have caught up to that technology in that regard. But I do know that there are laws about the hacker, and I know Senator Ensign and Senator Webb are working on some legislation as we speak to update some of the current statutes we have to make sure that it covers human intelligence and not just the kind that's written down.
Senator Claire McCaskill, thank you for joining us so much and getting to the criminality, perhaps, of this whole matter. And Mark Mazzetti of the New York Times for joining us.